All right, you'll call to order the March 17th, 2026 meeting of the Indiana Alcohol and Tobacco Commission. I will note that we have a quorum. Next item on the agenda, the disposition of minutes of the March 3rd, 2026 hearing.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, we've received a copy of the proposed minutes of the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission for March 3rd, 2026. I've reviewed this. I move acceptance of the minutes as proposed.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item, prosecutor's recommendations.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, we've received a PAD report from the prosecutor regarding fines for alcohol and tobacco. There, this last term, there were 46 items for a total of fines of $29,925. 3 of those are worthy of note. The first, well, all 3 are tobacco locations. One is Citgo in South Bend. Officers received a complaint of minors being sold substances there, products there. They saw a 20-year-old customer purchase a vape product. Further discussion and review indicated that there were smokable hemp there. The parties agreed for a $1,500 civil penalty and 7-day suspension of the tobacco certificate. The second was a marathon in Ripley County. Officers received a report of a possible overdose or perhaps an allergic reaction to THC products there. On review, they found several jars of green plant-like material. They also found smokable hemp. Parties have agreed to a $1,000 civil penalty and 7-day suspension of the certificate. And finally, in Evansville, the Evansville Smoke and Vape in Vanderburgh County. In January of this year, they did an inspection, found what they believe counterfeit Zyn products. In checking with representatives of Philip Morris, they found they were counterfeit. Parties have agreed to a $1,500 civil penalty and a 7-day suspension of the tobacco certificate. I move for acceptance of the prosecutor's report.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item, consideration of applications, 657 renewal applications.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, on the renewals, I incorporate by reference this list of 657 applications for renewal, which have been recommended by local boards and reviewed by said staff with authority of the commission, and hereby move for approval of the same pending any needed escrow hearings and inclusion of this list in the minutes of the March 17th, 2026 meeting of this commission.
Second. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 94 new and transfer applications.
I incorporate by reference of this list of 94 permit applications for a new permit or applications for changes in ownership or location or both of the existing permit, which have been recommended by the local boards and reviewed by a commissioner, to hereby move approval of the same pending a final floor plan approval by the state excise police and an escrow hearing if needed, and inclusion of this list as part of the minutes of the March 17th, 2026 hearing of this commission.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 51 catering applications.
I incorporate for reference of this list of 51 permit applications for catering and hereby move for approval of the same, and inclusion of this list as part of the minutes of the March 17th meeting, 2026 meeting of the commission.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 120 direct wine applications.
I incorporate by reference this list of 120 new and renewal carrier permits and hereby move approval of the same, and inclusion of this list as part of the
Direct wine.
direct line. Sorry. No carriers. Strike that from the record, please. Do we have a record to strike that from? All right.
Consider it.
Okay, sure. Direct line shippers. I incorporate by reference this list of 120 direct line shippers of new and direct line wine shipper permits and hereby move for approval of the same and inclusion of this list as part of the minutes of the March 17th, 2026 meeting of the commission.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item, waivers and fees for letters of extension.
Madam Chair, we've received a report of the waivers of fees for letters of extension. I move acceptance of those.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next, items for discussion. The first item for discussion is RR 4543237 Shirley Carter. This is a transfer of a denied permit with the local board voting 3-1 to approve.
Yes, this comes to us from Lake County. There was a local board hearing that was held to consider this transfer. This is an old type permit that allows for a liquor store. Previous owner had passed away some 10 years ago. The permit had wrongly been renewed in her name by Kevin Carter Sr. Mr. Carter Sr. appears to have a criminal conviction, which would prevent him from owning and running an alcohol business. Mr. Carter Sr. represented the business for this final inspection for the transfer and appears to also have things like his email on several related things connected to this new business. The testimony at the local board was that Mr. Carter Sr. would not be involved in the running of this new business, that Mr. Kevin Carter Jr. Would be involved in running the business. The permit is asking to be placed into the current owner's name, which is Shirley Carter. And it is noted that this permit is currently in escrow and may not currently be selling alcohol. Since it's been testified that Kevin Carter Sr. will not be involved in their short and therefore should not be involved in any way, I would like to make a motion. I would like to instruct legal to ask the business owner for an affidavit stating that Mr. Carter Sr. will not be involved in this business in any way. He shouldn't have his email connected to anything tangentially to this business. And as part of that affidavit, state that if Mr. Carter is involved, found to be involved in any way in this business, that they understand the ATC will move immediately to revert this permit to the state of Indiana, meaning they will lose their investment in the permit. The affidavit is due by the end of this month. And as part of that motion, I would ask that we reschedule this for the April 7th commission meeting to consider the transfer. And that's my motion.
I'll second that, but I'd like to comment.
Is there any further discussion?
Yes. Sorry. Short answer, great. Yeah, I listened to this and we have some history with this. I've been fairly steadfast on the issue of ownership issues. In this case, I have serious questions about whether or not, in this particular case, since this went on for 10 years, that the family, including Mr. Carter Sr., Mr. Carter Jr., and Shirley Carter, didn't understand and know the consequences of what they were doing, and the fact that they were engaged in behavior and I think misapplication of the rules. Having a license permit is a privilege, not a right. I would vote for this no, even though the local board voted 3-1 in favor of, but for your motion that sets out an affidavit. I know that listening to and watching the video, there was a board member who wanted to put a condition on the granting of the permit. And it was instructed by others that they could not put a condition, but we're not putting a condition on. We're just saying we won't issue the permit, authorize the issuance of the permit unless we are convinced that Mr. Carter Senior will not be involved. So, they better write a strong, affidavit for me, or I'll be a no vote on this.
We're just asking them to attest to everything they've stated under testimony of the local board, that, Mr. Carter Senior will not be involved in any way.
I would be interested in more detail because we've seen this happen time and time again where they say they're not gonna be involved, but, oh, they were just ordering from the wholesaler. They were just stocking the shelves. But they're really just the landlord. And landlords don't order your liquor for you. You know, we've seen it happen over and over. So I think I would be interested in the affidavit information about who's ordering from the wholesaler, who's stocking the shelves, who's managing. When Shirley Carter is at work, they testified it would be Kevin Carter Jr. But what hours is Shirley Carter managing? What will be the limitations of Kevin Carter Senior as landlord? There was testimony at the local board about the final inspection, so I went back and watched the body camera from the final inspection. Kevin Carter Senior was present. There was a lot of we, us. So I'm not sure there's a full understanding that as the landlord, there isn't a we and an us in the operations of the bar. It has to be a they. And so clearing that up, and then I'd also like to see the lease between Kevin Carter Senior as the landlord and Shirley Carter as the permit holder. Because if he's really just the landlord, there's a documented lease, there are monthly rent payments. If he's really just testifying to one thing under oath, but they're gonna operate it separately, then those lines start getting blurred. So that would be my request, is a lease. And then information about purchasing, stocking, managing, and then how they're limiting Kevin Carter Senior's landlord involvement. Seems like that would be repairs, maintenance, but not operations of the bar, not attendance during bar hours. So that's what I would like to see on that.
With that, I don't know if it'd be appropriate that perhaps in the affidavit, they can state that as a landlord, he will only be at the premises to inspect the property as an owner landlord, and that he keep a record of how often he is at the location.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of requesting the affidavit by
End of the month.
end of March of 2026 and resetting this matter for consideration for April 7th, 2026, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next permit is RR 4543415 Sports Lounge LLC, transfer with the local board voting 4-0 to deny.
Yes, this was also in Lake County. The local board hearing was held. There were remonstrators, which included the city attorney and the captain of the police department. They both were against this transfer of this permit due to the high and fine reputation of the proposed owners. The proposed owner has operated other alcohol establishments, which resulted in violations, and also appears to have run an after-hours business with an unlicensed club. For those reasons, I am going to make a motion that we uphold the denial of the transfer of this permit.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? I would just note there was a testimony about sisters and brothers, or S&B. There are a few variations of the name registered with Secretary of State being only his siblings and not him as owner. But when I looked at Secretary of State for that record, it showed him as the CEO, only manager, and the registered agent. So it's hard to reconcile how both of those things can be true. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for consideration is RR 710356 Lynn Corporation renewal with the local board voting 2-1 to approve for 1 year.
Yes, this comes to us from St. Joseph's County. There was a local board hearing that was held on February the 25th of this year. It was noted that this business has had 9 violations in the past 12 years. There's a current violation from the middle of last year for minor loitering. This owner, I just want to note that he owns several businesses and has been in the alcohol business for many years. 9 violations in 12 years is way too many to be having. Our requirements require businesses that have violations to give us a corrective action plan and to show what practices they are implementing or how they will turn the business around and turn it into a law-abiding establishment. I am going to, in a motion, make a requirement that we receive that corrective action plan. I will note that this permittee has an extension until May the 9th for their current operations until then. So my motion is to instruct legal to contact the business and ask them for a corrective action plan dealing with the violations that they've had. That is due by the end of this month, and to reset this permit for the April 7th, 2026 hearing for consideration of the renewal of the permit.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is DL 4932133, Raj Saru Inc., renewal with local board voting 4-0 to approve.
This is here in Marion County. There was a local board hearing on March the 2nd of this year. There was one remonstrator representing the Near East Side community neighborhood. They noted that this business was having problems with loitering, not checking IDs, and a sale to a minor. They were previously renewed for 1 year. The business and the community neighborhood have been talking, and they both agreed that a 1-year renewal would be amicable. So I'm going to move that we uphold the renewal for 1 year for this business.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? I would just say I appreciate when businesses and neighborhoods communicate. This is an example that it works out sometimes. I will know part of the reason for the 1 year is that they were granted a 1 year in September, but that was well into the permit year already, so it didn't really come to a 1 year. So I agree with the local board that 1 year from now keeps them on that 1 year renewal. But it sounds like they're doing a nice job working with the neighborhood the permittee is. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 4941113 State Street Pub Indy LLC. This is a renewal with the local board voting 2-2.
Yes, this was also local board held at the local board on March the 2nd here in Marion County. The owner did appear, and he appeared to discuss a violation which had happened during the last renewal period. Unfortunately, it involved an employee who was selling illegal drugs in the business. The owner testified that he did not know the employee was selling illegal drugs, that he was busy with other duties like DJing. I would like to please remind owners, managers, that you have to manage your business at all times and that you're responsible for anything that happens in your business. And also that law enforcement's doing their job when they come in to check businesses, and that they should be treated with respect and, with courtesy. This permit, it does not expire until April the 9th. Since it had violation, I would like to instruct legal to contact the business and ask for a corrective action plan due by the end of the month, and reset this for April 7th commission meeting for consideration of the renewal of the permit.
I'll second that reluctantly.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I just want to point out that this was a 2-2 vote, which means it was close at the local level. I would have voted no on this based upon a number of factors, as you stated, Commissioner Lee. The fact that he said he was a manager and was busy doing other things like DJing and serving as a bartender indicates he's not serving as a manager. And this was an incident, as I understand it, that whoever was at the front desk, front door, was selling cocaine. And that this had been known in the community for some time, perhaps for a year. The fact that a manager owner didn't understand what was happening in his organization is troubling to me. Plus, he seemed to have an excuse or a reason for everything that deflected from his responsibility as an owner and a manager. I think the cap is a good idea. I hope it's strong enough to indicate that he's going to manage and control things. I'd like to see that there is some effort to select someone at the front door who is responsible and will be understanding of his responsibility, his or her responsibility to the owner manager. Every security person serving in a bar has a responsibility to the owner to conduct himself properly and to understand the need to protect the patrons and the business and their fine reputation. That didn't happen in this case, and in my opinion, the owner, quote, manager, didn't feel he was responsible for that. So I like the idea of the cap and then setting this out for April 7th. I thought he was disrespectful, and I think that was mentioned several times in the local board meeting. I hope next time they'll understand that this is his chance to prove that he can run the place right, rather than ignore his responsibilities.
I think I went back and looked at, there was a prior violation last year, and the complaint came in that there was carry-in of alcohol and that the doorman was using narcotics. When excise went to investigate, they didn't find any evidence of the use of narcotics by the doorman, and so it did not result in a violation. And then this year's violation, this was a complaint called into Crime Stoppers. So that demonstrates that the community has an interest in seeing that the drug dealing at this location stop. And so excise did find that the bartender was, or not the bartender, the doorman was dealing cocaine, actually was so bold to bring it in, exchange the money in the cocaine at the bar top. So I think in a corrective action plan, what management changes are being done. I would hope that the owner can set a tone with his employees that this behavior is not acceptable, that it will be monitored, that it is subject to termination. So proactively, the employees respect the bar owner and his investment enough to not do this. I think there was a lot of blame on excise, but the fact remains that cocaine was being dealt in the bar, and your neighborhood deserves better than that. So what steps are being taken to ensure that your employees aren't the ones contributing to that? So that's what I would be looking for in a corrective action plan. Anything further?
Nothing.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next, permit for consideration is DL 2934270 Indie Liquors LLC. This is a renewal with the local board voting 3-0 to deny.
Yes, this was up in Hamilton County. They did hold a local board hearing on March the 10th. The owners did appear. The owner of this business also has a tobacco store in Plainfield. That business has had some 15 violations in the last few years. 10 of them were to the father who owned the tobacco store and was the previous owner, and then to the son who was the new owner. The son received some 5 violations. The business has been moved around in the ownership. The son was removed as the owner of the tobacco store, but he's still on the Secretary of State's office for that business. And I just want to point out on the violations that 15, I've never heard of 15 violations for one business in a tobacco store. That's an exorbitant amount. The liquor store permit has the same owners as the tobacco store. I want to just point out they are connected as family. They also live together. Their reputation, character, and violation history from the tobacco certificate does carry forward to this alcohol business. When this was heard, there was discussion about all that at the local board. They did recommend denial, and I move that we uphold the denial for DL 2934270 Indie Liquors LLC.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I just want to point out the importance of reputation. This Liquors LLC, with the owners of the prior violations, 15. The question is, what is the likelihood that the owners of Indie Liquors will follow and obey the laws of the state of Indiana, the rules and regulations of the commission? I think they were right to deny. I support the denial.
Right. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 8343276, new 234 Bar and Grill LLC, new with the local board voting 2-1 to deny. That application has been withdrawn. We do not need to take action on that. Next item for discussion is DL 2932924, Sing Bros Oil Incorporated. This is a denied escrow following 2 failures to appear after notice at escrow hearings. I will open that for discussion.
Yes, this is a permit up in Hamilton County. This permit was issued back in January 20th of 2016, so it's been in existence for a while. It is currently in escrow. It entered escrow on April the 17th of 2022. But they did not show for their recent escrow renewal on October the 28th and February the 24th. So they were denied escrow. They were before us to deny the permit, and I move that we deny the permit for DL 2932924 Sing Brothers Oil Inc.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 9243447 Timothy May Estate LLC. It's on for catering hall designation request.
Yes, we did get a very nice letter on February the 2nd of 26 requesting the catering hall designation. They did point out they're going to be a private wedding event venue and not open to the public. This is in Columbia City, and I move that we allow the catering hall designation for RR 9243447 Timothy May Estate LLC.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 2030343 Desi Corporation. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this is coming to us from Elkhart. We had asked for, some additional information on this, which has been sent in, and a cap has been submitted. I'll notice on that corrective action plan that they are doing things like closing at midnight. They're no longer playing any music. They have added pool tables. They've invested in their kitchen to meet their minimum food. There's no smoking. The new menu that they have in place has produced 10,000 extra this year already. And just noting they do need to meet the minimum food though. 10,000 is a good start, but keep working because you need to make the requirements for the 209 type. I did appreciate the pictures that were sent in for this. And they are asking for an extension, and I'm gonna move that we grant the 90-day extension for RR 2030343 Desi Corporation.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I'd just like to follow up the commissioner's comments. I thought this was one of the better caps I've seen in a long time. It certainly addressed all the issues in a direct and proper manner. It recognized that changes, and not just minor changes, but significant changes had been made. And I appreciate the documentation. I compliment the permittee in this matter.
I will just note, I don't know if you said this at the beginning. This permit was denied at local board. We initially upheld the denial and it was timely appealed. That's why we're talking about the extension here today. I appreciate everything the permittee's doing here. I appreciate that they're up $10,000 on the year. I would just note, or I would just encourage the permittee to continue with that if they intend to appeal and seek to continue holding the 209. Because that $10,000 extrapolated over the year is not going to get them to $100,000 for the year. So they still have a lot of work ahead of them. But I appreciate the corrective action plan on this one. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is DL 5387314. Sahildi Corporation. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this is a grocery store down in Bloomington. They have had a first extension from December 23rd of 25 to March the 23rd of 26. They have now met their requirements to renew, and they are before the Monroe County local board on April the 1st. And I move that we grant a 90-day extension for DL 5387314 Sahildi Corporation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 5717008 Falco Incorporated. This matter comes on for an extension request.
This comes to us from Noble County. They're here for a second extension. They're operating on a second extension, which goes until March the 22nd. They needed a new certificate of existence. I think they're in the process of resolving that. They're before the local board on April the 14th. They have asked for the rest of their extension to get through their local board. The rest of the extension will get them until April the 21st. They're before the local board April 14th. They would be back before us if they pass the local board, I believe, on April 21st. So that could work out perfectly, and I'm gonna move that we grant the rest of the, 90-day extension for DL 5717008 fall code.
To a different, the,
I'm sorry,
R 5717008.
yes,
Okay.
I read the wrong one. I
Second.
apologize.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 5536667 BRL Properties LLC. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, they are operating on a second extension, which expires April the 10th. They're before the local board now on April the 27th. They had a violation, which has been taken care of. And I move that we, grant a 90-day extension for them to get through their local board hearing for RR. Let me make sure I'm reading the right ones. RR 5536667 BRL Properties LLC.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I assume at that local board, they'll address the issue that we received notice of in January about ownership.
I think that might have been already resolved
Resolved.
in our paperwork.
Okay.
Yeah. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 7136368, the Social LLC. I will actually turn this over. I heard this last week as a violation matter, so I will turn this over to the vice chair and abstain on this one.
You want to report on this?
Sure. This comes to us from St. Joseph County. They have 4 pending violations. As the chair stated, there has been a hearing held. It is moving along, hopefully to resolve these violations. The violations, let me see, they also have a letter of authority to operate until today. And I'm going to move that we grant a 90-day, or I'm sorry, a 60-day extension to get them through this hearing process and hopefully get these violations settled, resolved, however, taken care of during the next 90 days. And that is for RR 471366368, the Social LLC.
I'll second that. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of the 60-day extension for RR 7136368, the Social LLC, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Will show none. Will show the motion carries 2-0 with 1 abstention.
All right. Next item for discussion is RR 4940045, Miami's Garden LLC. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, they had an extension which expired February the 6th. They've received an extension until today, March the 17th. They had an appeal hearing for January the 22nd for a violation. They've had no issues in the past year from that violation. No further bad practices noted, no violations noted. And I'm going to move that we approve the extension until May the 7th of 2026, which is the remaining time on the existing extension, so they would get the full 90 days from the extension started at the last week.
I'll second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion?
I'll just note that I did hear this on, I think January 21st, 22nd. I've issued the order, it's been sent out, so I will be participating in this hearing, but also point out, as you indicated, Commissioner, that while the violations that were subject to the denial at the local level and that were the subject of the appeal hearing on January 22nd, there was almost a year between those. There have been no violations since, and my order will reflect that as a matter. But I would caution that the allegations in this case were really serious. It's just that they took some time to wind through the process at the local board level and then to our level. Yeah, I suspect if they had been heard earlier and we not had the kind of behavior and the lack of continuing problems, there were 4 violations within a short period of time in 2024, I think it was. And for that reason, I'll be supporting this motion.
All right, I will just note, I've expressed my concerns with extensions outside of the hearing process on this one, so consistent with my prior votes. I will be a no, but I look forward to reading your findings, listening to the appeal hearing in this. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. No. Motion carries 2-1. Next item for discussion is MM483065, Cultured Urban Winery LLC. This matter comes on for an extension request. As I previously stated, we've received information about a property tax issue. My husband represents the assessor in this county, so I will, as I have done in the past, abstain on this matter and turn it over to the vice chairman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you explain your review and recommendations this time, Commissioner?
Glad to. This comes to us from Madison County. As the chair stated, this had a property tax clearance that's needed. They did expire June the 30th of 2025. They had a first extension from July 2nd, 25 to 9/30/25. They had a letter of authority from 10/21/25 to 10/28/25. They had a second extension for 30 days from 10/29 to 11/18. They got the rest of that extension left November 19th to January 17th. And they had a third extension from January 21st to March the 22nd. We did ask legal to send them a note asking for an update on the property tax appeal. We have gotten a response from their attorney, and they are working on it, which is great to hear. They do not have any violations. Their legal asked for a 30-day extension, and I'm going to move that we grant a 30-day extension for RR 483065 Cultured Urban Winery LLC.
Second. Any further discussion? I would just point out that we have tax protests quite frequently, more than we would like, but fewer than given the number of permits we have in the thousands. This one for me seems particularly challenging. It's a lot of money and they've got a dispute as to the amount. So I support this extension. Anything else?
No.
Under MM 483065 Cultured Urban Winery LLC, the motion has been made to grant the extension. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? With one abstention, the motion under this carries 2-0 with one abstention. Madam Chair.
Next item for discussion is RR 2940944 Westfield Golf Club LLC. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this expired on November the 1st. They had a first extension from November 2nd to February the 1st. They are in the process of transferring this to the city of Westfield. There was a tax issue. It has been resolved. They now have a letter of authority from March the 12th through today. They did have a violation last year for furnishing alcohol to a minor. I'm gonna move that we grant the rest of the 90-day extension for RR 2940944 Westfield Golf Club LLC.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 2997353 Crown Restaurants Incorporated. This matter comes on for an extension request.
This is a 210 permit up in Fishers. They did expire December 17th of 2025. They had a first extension from December 18th, 25 till today. They are now scheduled for their renewal in front of the local board on April the 14th. They do not have any violations. I move for a 90-day extension.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 4932631 Soraya Corporation. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this is a permit here in Marion County. It is a 210 permit. It did expire December 22nd. They had a first extension from December 23rd through March the 22nd. They have a violation, which is unsettled. They have, submitted a cap. They did submit that on March the 7th. They did state that they acquired previous security, which was a problem, and that they're using off-duty enforcement officers. They're, one of the problems that they had also,
If you guys need to have discussions, can you go in the hall? Thanks. It picks up on the owl and it's gonna video record you two having a conversation. So if you need to talk, step out. All right, go ahead.
no problem. There was, a problem, a violation in November of last year. There was a shooting inside. I will note that that event involved a promoter. Whenever there's promoters involved, it seems like we have problems. We don't like seeing promoters involved. The management seem to tend to turn their business over to promoters who don't have your best interest at heart. If it's your business, you need to retain management of your business at all times and know what's going on. That promoter was using an unlicensed security firm. The manager from that business also appears to have had some problems with other permits that have been denied here. This has been, this violation is still outstanding. I'm gonna ask that they resolve it or set it for a hearing. I'm going to, we want to close it out and get moving on the violation. So I'm going to move that we grant a 30-day extension and again, ask them to move along on settling the violation. That is for RR 4932631 Soraya Corporation.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I would just comment again on the cap. I thought the corrective action plan was fairly specific in terms of reducing capacity, changing hours, having 2 managers on duty. I think they demonstrated that they're willing to make some changes, but they do need to resolve the current violation that, to support Commissioner Magnet, when you own a bar or a restaurant and have a permit and decided to loan it out to people, you're responsible for everything that happens. Extreme caution should be exercised in doing that, and it requires extra supervision. Your permit depends upon someone else's behavior, and you should control that. Thank you.
I would just note on resolving the violation, I think in that 30 days, I would like to see it either settled or set for hearing before a hearing judge approving the violations. When security is the issue, when management is the issue, I appreciate seeing businesses moving on quickly from those problems. 30 days, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 11-23795 Mario Bros Incorporated. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this comes to us from Clay County. This permit did expire, April the 1st, of last year. They had a first extension from April the 2nd to June 30th, and a second extension on January 14th to April the 14th of this year. They have, violations, one that is still open that has to do with employee acting without employee permits, without exam, without display, and bootlegging. I will note that in September of the 25, they had another violation which has been settled, but it was for bootlegging. But they did have an older violation in 2019, which was for no employee permits, exam, display. So they're having sort of the same problems. They really need to clean those up. They have not submitted a corrective action plan to us, so I'm going to ask instruct legal to send them a correspondence asking for a corrective action plan by the end of this month, March 31st, and that they be placed back on our agenda for April the 7th for consideration of the extension, noting again that their second extension expires April 14th. That's my motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 498. Sorry, I'm missing a
83051.
83051. I was missing one of those numbers. OHSR Enterprise LLC. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this is a 210 permit. It did expire January 5th of this year. They do have an extension until April the 4th. They do have an open violation. I'm sorry, they don't have an open violation. They were denied their permit, and we upheld the denial. And they appealed, because an appeal hearing was held on December the 11th of 25. I believe an order is being issued on that.
I think we already voted and adopted the order.
Okay. The violation had to do, or the corrective action plan stated that staff would be retrained, no in and out. They're increasing staff. They're closing slightly earlier. So I commend them for taking actions to correct the problems on the closing earlier. You might want to consider slightly earlier, a 2:15 announcement, a 2:30 close, 2:45 clean up, and everybody out the door by 3 isn't a whole lot different. But since they're doing okay with it, so they can get through renewal, I'm gonna move that we grant a 90-day extension for RR 49-38051 OHSR Enterprises LLC.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next, item for discussion, there are two, well, I'll call them separately since their corporations are slightly separate. Permit DL 4930983 Park Purpose 6, and DL 4930985, Park Purpose 5. Can we take it by consent to add those to the agenda?
Consent.
Consent.
All right, I'll show those added to the agenda, and I will call permit ending in 83 for Park Purpose 6.
Yes. We received a letter on February 24th of 26 stating that they have completed the training for their employees. And they are in good standing for the extension. And I don't know that we need to, that they're good to go on the extension. Do we need anything further than that? We've received everything we asked for.
Is it a second extension? If it's a second extension, we need to vote.
We asked for it to continue the extension, yes. So I'll move that we continue the extension for DL 4930983 Park Purpose 6 LLC.
Second.
Thank you. I wasn't tracking there.
We
Yes,
rescheduled it and asked for information. We received the information, but we're just making sure that
just for clarity, we'll note that we
extension is.
are affirmatively continuing the extension. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Similarly, the next permit is DL 4930985 for Purpose 5.
And that is the exact same thing. We had asked to clarify the training that was outlined in the corrective action plan, and they have done so on their February 24th, 2026 letter. And I move that the extension that was previously granted that it is in good standing.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. There's one additional permit to add for extension. That's RH 4929992 Claypool Port LLC. Can we take it by consent to add that to the agenda?
Consent.
Consent.
I'll show that added to the agenda by consent and open that for discussion.
Yes, this permit in Marion County expired December 18th, 2025. They had an extension until tomorrow, March the 18th. They have no violations. They were working on their ownership of this business. We have gotten that information. It's now scheduled for the local board on April the 7th of 2026. I move that we grant a second extension for 90 days for RH 4929992 Claypool Port LLC.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Inactive files, there are 3 we received renewals on. They are all for Weston Property Management LLC, permit number RR 4938826, RR 4938827, and RR 4938822. Can we take it by consent to remove those from the list?
Consent.
All right, there's one other that's slightly different because we don't have a complete renewal. That is for David Gonzalez Business Incorporated, RR 4534038. We received information that they're attempting to complete the renewal application. We have it on file, but they don't have the Form 1 from the treasurer yet, as systems were down multiple times when they tried to go get it. Is there a motion on that one to continue it?
Yes.
Yes.
I would move that we continue that to the April 7th, 2026 meeting to allow them to complete the property tax form.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to continue that to consideration for the April 7th, 2026 meeting. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. That brings the permits to be made inactive today to 18.
Madam Chair, I incorporate by reference this list of permit applications to be made dead and hereby move for approval of same and inclusion of this list as part of the minutes of the March 17th report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Just an announcement, there are 49 permits to be made inactive on April 7th, 2026, if we don't receive renewals before then. There are some amended meeting dates. I will note that if you intend to submit written comment from the public hearing related to Rule 32.1, those are due by close of business this Thursday. So get those to us if you intend to submit written comment. Not seeing any other items.
We have Jam, LLC, was that on for an extension, second extension? I got an email about it just now.
Is it for today or the next meeting? If you just got the email, then we
Well,
would
no, I
not.
mean, I got it from Jeff saying that it was supposed to be on the agenda.
I don't remember seeing that, but
Okay, never
should
mind.
we consider giving them a letter of authority?
Yeah, I'll work on
We
that.
haven't
I'll work on
reviewed
that.
that one.
Yep. Sorry to interrupt you guys.
All right, no, appreciate it. If we need to get something done, I appreciate
There
it.
were a lot of, on the agenda today, so we may have missed one.
No, I'll do it all day, no problem.
All right, thank you. All those, well, I'm gonna take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn as long as everyone has a happy St. Patrick's Day.
Second.
Drinking green beer.
No. Oh.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you all.
13.